Well, friends and relatives, welcome to another episode of The Glorious Mess, or as I like to call it, Survival of the Fittest. Even though
That
that
is.
doesn't really work, because I'm not fit. You guys are more fit than me, actually. I guess I would say you're more fit than me.
It is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that statement.
You know what? That's too deep for today. We're gonna surface level it. No, we do like it deep here at The Glorious Mess.
We do like it.
Idea.
I think well, let's just check in. What's happening in your universe? What's on your mind? Remember when Facebook used to just be like, what's on your mind? That's
Yeah.
that's our question for today. What's on your mind?
How pretty I am.
I love that for you.
Honestly, I wish I was kidding. I'm serious. Okay, but you want to know why? So Taylor and I did this really cool shoot randomly on Saturday, and sometimes it's just a nice reminder, like you forget. It's like when you put on makeup and a cool outfit, and I do feel like in the last year I've just really gone back to my roots that I was with a child, where I just wear whatever the fuck I want, and I'm not trying to like be cool. I'm just like this inspires me. This feels good, and I like being a chameleon. And my clothing has started to really and or my style has really started to evolve with me, and I've really started to give myself permission to dress in all the multiple facets that I am, whereas before I was
Hmm.
like really trying to like stay in kind of this is how I just dress, which is boring. And so yeah, we just got a few photos back and they're like totally not edited either. And I just was pleasantly surprised because I will say this is the first year that I've started to notice changes in my face. Like I'm 30 now and I'm Caucasian, okay? So like it's not really going,
I had no idea.
I know. And I'm like white. People always think I have a little sprinkle of something in there, but no, I am Viking and Irish and Welsh.
Yeah, I
Norwegian,
think Ta
so
Taylor and I have met your family. We know we can confirm.
yeah,
Unless your dad's not your dad.
he definitely is. Oh, you've seen this
Can you
nose much
imagine if that
here
was like the
and
biggest
my
plot
laugh.
twist?
Yeah,
That's so
you
fair.
are not the father. Yeah. Anyway, very interesting. Anyway, so I was literally thinking about that, but and
And
also,
wait, justice for that show also. Like, bring that show back. Even though it was super problematic. Like, Maury. Where's Maury? Is he dead? I think he's dead, actually.
no, I don't
Not
think
Maury.
No,
No, Jerry Springer's dead. One of them are dead.
research.
Everyone, please hold. Tell me what's on your mind. Keep going.
So that's what's on my mind. Creativity, collaboration, beauty, and my radiance from the inside out. I know I was just pleasantly surprised to see that I can still be that bitch with a few more smile lines.
Mm.
And
Okay.
like my face is just slightly, you know, starting to
don't
slide.
hyperfixate on your face. Your face is beautiful just as it is.
I know, look at the video.
Exactly. Now you got evidence, bitch. Now you got evidence. Okay.
Nice
Evidentiary
reminder.
support.
It's just a nice reminder.
Well, speaking of the last fact that I need to go back to before we appreciate the beauty of your visage, is Maury Povich is alive to confirm, and Jerry Springer is dead. And in response to his death, Maury said, "I am shocked and saddened by the passing of Jerry." So, Jerry, if you're listening to this, rest in peace. Thank you for making problematic TV. Thank you for pushing all of the stereotypes to front and center for us to just see
Honestly, yeah.
chaos. And, yeah, anyway.
They don't make TV like that anymore. So honestly, yeah. R.I.P. my guy. R.I.P.
Taylor,
Let's
what's
bring
on your mind?
What's on my mind is that my life is full chaos mode in all the ways that I did anticipate because I made my own fucking calendar. And I was not prepared for it, but it is still happening, and all the
Mm,
balls are still in my hand relatively. I might have
mm,
slipped a few, but none have fallen. So
mm.
I'm pleased. I
How
can't be
many
mad.
balls can you hold in your hand?
A whole fucking lot. And a whole lot more in my mouth too. I'm just kidding.
I know I always went to like, well, the most I've done is two, but I haven't.
No, my friends actually recently commented and said, RJ, you're like making a lot more like sexual comments lately. And I was like, I don't think that's true. I think I've always been like sexually quite inappropriate.
Yes, I
Right?
agree.
Thank
Which
you.
is
Maybe
Yeah.
which is interesting though, because you are not, for somebody who
Yeah,
makes
I was gonna say, yeah, you're not a
someone who
very
talks out here like a freak, you really aren't. Like you're
I'm
actually,
vanilla.
yeah, and you actually
Vanilla.
have, you've had to work through a lot of like sexual comfortability, I think, like with yourself or permission.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but I think people are so people are surprised because you do say stuff so off the cuff that people think that
Mm-hmm.
you're
so
like
candidly.
that, but you're not. You're
Not at
just
all.
sweet and innocent.
I'm
Just a
just
little
Hey, Melissa.
baby. Just a baby.
it does. I think, yeah, sex has always been an interesting one for me because, yeah, I'm so comfortable to present it, but I feel like detached from it. So even like when people, whenever it was like performing regularly or like backup dancing for drag queens, like I can sell sex on stage. I used to always walk in balls in like sex sirens category. Remember the RoboCop year with the golden
Yeah,
ass? Like
yeah, it's great.
I was always in, I totally down to be like just buck naked or nasty. Wait, butt naked nasty. Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
song. I used to love that
yeah.
song. So, but yeah, I love doing it in that way. It feels like safe, but yeah, in turn, I'm
That's
actually
an
just
alt
like
like I
pretty
feel
chill.
like that's like also an alter ego. Like same thing with actually how I perform and how forward I am, and like even with my comments, like lots of people that come up to me expecting me to be very dominant and
But
whatever, and I'm
you're a
actually,
freak.
oh, for sure, once I'm
Okay.
comfy. Let's get
Okay.
that one thing clear.
But
But I'm very shy actually,
yeah.
and I actually can't, like people have filmed me with consent, and like I actually don't like hearing myself, and I don't like watching the stuff that I do because I don't know who that bitch is when I'm
Mhm.
enjoying myself. Like I go to a place where I cannot witness myself being there. Like there's a
Yeah.
little bit of, like shame, and I can't.
Mm.
Yes, interesting. I need to figure out what that is. Like I can't see myself that way, but I get there. Like,
Hmm.
and I'm happy with that, but I can't face it. So,
What
what does
that's
that
a
mean?
I was looking at like Dochi. I was hearing a story about Dochi and like, did you hear about why she created the name Dochi or like what was happening for
No,
her?
but I love her. I love everything that she's talking about and
Literally.
presenting.
Everything, everything,
Watching an
everything.
icon be made live.
Yeah,
Literally.
watching the world realize an icon
Yes,
who,
yes,
it's like,
yes.
but Dochi was saying that she was like really bullied in her younger years and treated really poorly by her peers. And so Dochi became this alter ego of herself that could not be bullied. And so she like created this identity as a young person where it's like, yes, me, I'm getting bullied, but
But Gucci, man,
Dochi don't fucking play it. I think anyway, I thought that was a funny thing, thinking of like it's like labeling that person as like a part of me. Like when you think of like the
yeah,
movie Inside Out, like it's
yeah,
Mm.
one of me, but it's not me. And
totally.
yeah.
And I think so much like people who perform or are artists, like that's really who you're witnessing is this like armored, unapologetic,
Yeah.
forthcoming reclamation version or
Hmm.
like section of their own identity. And I think that's actually something that creates, I mean, for so long, like just I also was kind of doing that with all my Bronwyn Joy stuff. Like, and then sometimes you get very, very separated and having to work through that through your natural life. It's very interesting. I think it's a very complex thing
It is.
being an artist in general, whatever capacity that is. And because the
Hmm.
thing that people are always receiving from you is your art. And so,
Hmm.
especially if it's like with promotion and like that's the thing you're always trying to put forward. I think art's complicated because it's something that is your profession, but it's also so personal. And I
Hmm.
think people that are on the other side of witnessing an artist but aren't creative themselves, I think there's a lot no one will ever really understand
Hmm.
fully what that whole process is like.
150%. And that's so maybe what I'll share with what's on my mind about like I had just wrapped my little Jonas Brothers holiday Christmas
I was
movie
gonna
How'd
say,
that
you said
moment.
you just walked through
go?
the door.
Okay, I was just, casually hanging out with my boyfriends,
Shameless
Nick,
plug, shameless
Joe,
plug.
and Kevin. But not like to be clear, I just want to say on the record, like Nick Jonas is really aloof, maybe that's the word. Like I don't know if he's really there. I don't know. That's just my own personal thoughts.
Did you meet all
Um,
of them then? Did you meet all of them?
yeah, like this. So how this scene goes, I guess maybe I'm not supposed to say, but it's only our parents listening to this. But like how the scene goes is like, yeah, we basically kind of meet them. I'm like scared to speak out loud. So
Oh my
like, oh
God.
my God, this is going public. Anyway, we meet them at a club and we kind of like read them to filth. And
Yeah.
then we're like, okay, well, let's go party.
Yeah.
That's a general enough synopsis that gives away nothing. Because
Sounds like a
those
day in the
contracts.
life.
Yeah, I listen, Disney is everywhere. I don't know if I ever told you guys when I worked on my first Disney movie, like a bunch of people went out to the club and were drinking and posted it on their story, and then the next day they were fired. Like Disney's always watching. And this is for us like low tier kind of dancer actor roles.
Yeah.
But I finished the movie, but then I was like thinking about the process, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like film and TV is like, gosh, we hype it up so much. You go through this intense process of like going to the audition, the waiting, the hold, and then maybe you get network approval, and then you get a booking, and then you go in the room and you do this thing, and it's just like a whole lot of hurry up and wait. And then you have
Yep.
to like on the camera, what you have to do is bring an energy that's real so that the audience, when they watch it, can feel something real, but you're really fucking exhausted or you're really like it feels so artificial sometimes. And so it's really, I really respect like method actors who are, who really feel like it must be so tough, especially when we look at like what happened with Heath Ledger and that kind of like psychosis he entered through his character and how that really fucked him up, because it's really hard to separate yourself. And so that's why like I do love film and TV. I love watching film and TV. But I don't know if I actually love like filming
The process.
Yeah.
the process of it. I find sometimes can be a little bit rough, but again, it depends on the work you're working with. Like of course this was a Disney movie, so like it was a lot more fun and good energy, and there was a lot happening, and it was like the Jonas Brothers are like a big kind of like, I've loved them. I went to their like 3D concert movie. I went to their concert for my 33rd birthday last year. Like I
I'm actually so
absolutely
mad I missed it. I was literally supposed to go and I could not. And I was so pissed I missed it. I almost had tickets. I'm so gutted.
it was such a good birthday present. I actually I had so much fun. And so that those parts are really really cool. But then I always think too, like there's a big movie project in Vancouver right now, which is like another Disney thing that everyone kind of went crazy over, right? And it's like Vancouver, I feel bad for dancers who forget that they're artists, which means your art has so many different pathways to be explored, and you owe it to yourself and to the art. And so I've been seeing some people who are really negatively impacted by not booking the job. And it's like, one, you're never guaranteed anything in life, but you can the guarantee you can do is you can always create something.
Yeah.
And it's hard under capitalism to and it's hard in an expensive ass city like Vancouver, but I still like, there are cool fucking people who teach Monday to Friday in schools doing dance education programs. People who teach dance classes, people who are choreographing, people who are doing all sorts of other
Lip syncing
creative
bathroom videos.
lip syncing bathroom videos. Like there's so many, I don't know, there's so many ways to monetize your craft. And I think I feel bad when I see people who are like, their whole identity is wrapped up in the job. And that's coming from me who like, that is, I still feel, I still feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say like that's such a huge, that's literally, that comes back down to your why. And you forget when you're trying to make it in the industry so much. And even as a teacher, like my why is I just hope that in my orbit, I find all those people that have been chewed up and spat out and forgot about their worth and why they started doing that creation in the first place. Like, I hope that somewhere along the way they remember their why. And even this little video we did on Saturday, I was so lit up after we did it. It was just like three friends getting together, but it reminded me that like that took 45 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
And it was so fun. And
It's so
like
fun.
that fueled me enough to even one want to do more. But no, I didn't make any money from it. I got money back like spiritually, emotionally, like creativity wise.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
we forget that we're not if we're not hired or booked, like that starts to become the only place that you do your dancing or do your art. And then so of course it gets wrapped up when you get saying no because it's like
Hmm.
all your eggs are in that basket. So
Literally.
it's hard. And like you said, capitalism, time, of course, it's so hard, but you forget to take class for fun too, or even like just get in a studio. And one of my friends did a birthday class where it was free and she just taught us a combo for an hour and a half. And it was great. It was such a good time. You forget.
Yeah.
Give yourself
And
permission just to do it for fun.
that's like that's when you just get together with three friends, like that's when like we would have all probably fallen in love with creating or dance in general. It was just
Yeah.
like you're just moving to music, you're in this relationship to each other,
Yeah.
and
It's
maybe you're
community.
capturing it, maybe you're not, but yeah, it's community. You're just doing the thing. And so yeah, when it becomes our thing, when it becomes our job, it becomes really hard to like find
Yeah.
that again. And I think
See, and
now
this
like
is like, sorry, I had an
no, no,
interesting thought. Been reflecting, but like both of you were talking about is that like they're all three for me quite separate. So
Mhm.
my why and my love for dance is my own. And so no matter if I'm booked, no matter if I don't teach, no matter like it's that relationship is its own relationship and I have to soothe it and encourage it and explore it in its own way. But it's not the same why that I have for teaching. And
Totally.
it's not the
mm,
same why that I have for making art. And it's also not the same why I have for being on stage. All of
mm-hmm,
those are quite different and they all have different needs. And
mm-hmm.
so, like, if I drop one ball, like, it doesn't mean my whole craft has been dropped. And I like, so my identity and all of those things are also not all wrapped up in one.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real. Well,
And
let's
also
scratch.
like make more money. If you're able to if you're able to like be booked in class, teach, dance, create, removes the pressure a little bit, I think.
100%. 100%. And don't forget about grant opportunities. I feel so many
Yeah.
people forget. Granting, there is
Yeah.
things, there is spaces. I think BC has a really good
Mm.
something where you can like get free training. You just pay a membership and they like
Mm-hmm.
give you an allowance. So anyway, there is things. Never feel limited. And you can also volunteer. Like I remember back in the day when I was younger, I used to volunteer for classes at Decidedly Jazz. So you like volunteer and then you get free class. So there's always opportunities outside of capitalism. But I was thinking, going now deeper into the subconscious. Let's do another
Oh,
round of what's on your mind, but let's go
oh,
below the surface.
oh
Let's
no.
extract some deep-rooted trauma. No, I'm just kidding.
Get guttural there.
Let's
Um,
get guttural. But
I
what's
felt
going on in your world or something you're like working through right now?
I thought my answer was pretty profound. So I'm just kidding. I'm
Let me
kidding.
just let me just remove you from the room. Sorry.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing
Uh,
is you don't want to answer the question. I'm just kidding.
What I'm hearing is you deflecting.
no. No, I wow. There's so much below the surface, there always is.
Hmm.
Uh,
It's like that iceberg.
hmm I don't really know. There's a lot of stuff going on. I feel like I'm still consistently trying to navigate shame and balance and uh like balance with like personal fun and work and creativeness. Creativeness is now a word.
Yeah,
Um
it is a word.
and I'm trying to decide if some of the choices that I've been making are fine or am I just talking myself out of the responsibility. You know what I mean? Like me,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like the voice in my
Yeah.
head lately, um, I'm having a hard time investigating whether it's like, am I being too hard on myself? Are my inner thoughts true? Are they really true?
Mm.
Or am I deflecting that they're true because I'm like, it's fine, I'm doing amazing. And is that, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know who to trust. My heart, my head, and I think as somebody that is passionate about self discovery and growth, I sometimes do overanalyze
Hmm.
things all the time. And sometimes I need to just be existing for a bit and then decide on the process and is it working or is this really working versus overanalyzing every choice all the time.
Yeah.
Well, let's go deeper. I need some specifics. That felt like a whole lot of general.
Okay. I've noticed that I'm making improvements in saying my truth in professional settings and like also personal settings. The only difference is in my professional setting, I never second guess my truth, and in personal settings, I really do. I went
Still
up to some,
general.
yeah, not really. I'm getting there, fucker. Okay.
Just,
Wow, I
just.
was like, whoa, now we're fighting? Are we
Yeah.
fighting now?
I went up to
And it
somebody.
wasn't even me.
Listen, I went up to somebody at a queer event on Saturday and I said my truth. Of course, I was a little drunk at the time. So today, I'm mortified that I did that. In the moment, I was really proud of myself of just going up to her and being like, I just want to make sure we don't have a fucking problem because I feel like in my head, I've created a problem and this is the first time I've been seeing you in person. So I just like, I literally remember being like, and this is hella awkward, snap finger gun to her. And I literally was like, so, but she's like, no, we're cool. Like, there's no animosity from my end. And I was like, all right, do you want a hug? And we like hugged, and then I walked away. And now I'm just like replaying what that would have looked like from her end, which at the end of the day, I felt better about the situation. So, regardless if she saw me for me, like that, I need to just let that go. And that is something I've been working on. But I was reflecting
Mm,
how interesting it is. Like, so in my professional life, I don't second guess when I do stuff like that. I feel really in my integrity and my power. And I think it's because I respect myself and my worth way more
mhm.
in my job than I do as a person without all that.
Okay.
And so like how do you build personal worth? Like I think I'm struggling with that piece because I chip away at my personal identity way more aggressively than I do my professional identity. And I don't really know how to change that.
Yeah.
Question for the
Mm,
universe. And
The
there's
yeah.
universe will respond back.
there's affirmations and yeah, I like say I do all that in the mirror, and which I do, but so much of that I believe in my profession and not my
Mm-hmm.
personal life. So I don't
Mm.
know. That's kind of where I'm
I
at.
mean, I like, why are they separate? Because you are still you when you're working, and you're still you when you're not working.
No, I know,
Mm.
and that's what kind of brings me back to the professionalism and the artistry, right? Like I feel
Yeah.
so in my truth and my power in my work because I'm vulnerable and I can explain myself through movement, through storytelling, through I can and you know what it is? I just see this way you talk out loud. You feel, but it's because in my workplace, I get lots of repetitive feedback that I'm making a
Mm.
difference and that I'm seen how I believed that I should be seen. And in my
Mm-hmm.
personal life, when I am doing things that are benefiting me, for example, that person's not going to be like, good job for doing this conversation. That was the right move. I'm not going to get that. Right. So there's so much room for me. Like, there's so much. And she also mentioned that she was sober now, and I at that time was not sober. So again, then there's like that fear that, oh my God, like, was I just the crazy drunk person that went up to her and was like, do you have a problem?
Liquid
Um,
courage.
yeah, so I don't know. It's, and of course, the people in my life, like I have very few people that I believe everything they say at face value.
Yeah.
However, they also know me in my job and they get a way bigger picture of me
Yeah.
than these people that I make. I think it's just time and like constant receipts and accepting that I'm not going to get the like good job after
Yeah.
I do any of that. But I don't know. I'm still navigating. And why am I only that bitch with liquid courage? Like
I
why
was gonna say, I
you
think that's
know?
the next question.
But it's, I mean, like we can't kid, like we all know how, like, because when you suppress parts of your brain that, like that thinking part, which
Yeah.
alcohol does, like it
Yeah.
makes sense that these more primal spaces of just taking action come about. So it's like,
Yeah.
why do you think it's such a fucking problem in our world, alcohol,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For real.
Yeah,
It works.
seriously.
The shit
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the more I can do that soberly without, because the thing is like I have a lot of shame from my past and even my present now. Like I'm definitely sliding. It's been a bit navigational lately with like how much I'm going over back to my party days. The difference is it's once in a while and not like 5 days a week, but she's still
Mhm.
there. And so trying to find balance with that still. But
Mhm.
again, the only times I'm outside is in that kind of setting. So I don't have a lot of receipts
Yeah.
of being completely sober and standing up for myself and creating those boundaries. Where I have those receipts is my professional life. So
Yeah.
it does make sense. I'm impatient though too. And I think when
Mm-hmm.
I see progression,
Totally human.
yeah, when I see progression over here and I don't feel the same charged and like progress in my personal life, I immediately am way more quick to be like, what the fuck? You're
Yeah.
not
Mm.
developing enough.
You're
Where,
not you're not growing the way that I expect you to grow.
yeah, grow faster. I'm watering
Yeah, it was just
you.
good.
Like, I'm watering you. Let's go.
Not paying attention. Yeah.
No, and sometimes you don't. I think we always feel like we have to know or we have to be certain. And there's something yeah, you've got these feedback loops in your work naturally. You've got
Yeah.
the program, the registration, the body's there.
Yeah.
And you've been
But
doing this
even
for a
like,
while, you know what you're doing.
yeah,
And you also get a bit of space to go away from it, right? Whereas the
yeah,
personal things, you never go away from yourself. So like,
And
you
also, I
know,
feel like the access to communication we have, like via our students, via our teachers, like we have the means to get that feedback so
mhm,
nicely and so readily. Whereas I feel like in our personal life, unless we initiate that conversation, that's not the chance to get that feedback doesn't really come by, you know?
mhm,
fully, yeah.
mhm,
And it's just all showing a mirror, right? Like anytime you feel like someone is maybe uh her perception of me under the influence is really just a mirror of my own shame of worrying that I haven't seen you in like XYZ years in person, and here you are seeing me in the club, still drinking, still outside, where it
mhm,
almost feels like I'm overthinking that like I've changed and evolved internally so much since then, but I think I'm
mhm,
worried face value. I looked like I was being like stagnant, which I think is my own. Uh, I would hate that. I would hate for someone to run into me in like for the first time in 7 years and be like, "Ugh, she's still that bitch," and I'm
mhm.
like, that's where so much of my anxiety comes from. I've changed. I'm different.
Look
I've
at me, I'm
evolved.
different. And you are, and that
Yeah.
like
And
you
like I
can,
know that. And if they
yeah,
don't know that, like I can't wait for the day where I can just literally be like, I know where I'm at.
yeah,
Whether
yeah,
you meet me there or not is totally fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
And believe that because I say that all the time. But and some days I believe it, some days I don't. But here we are.
And that's the thing. I think, yeah, you're just that's life. That's really the magic. Is like, yeah, sometimes I will, sometimes I won't, but it won't, it just everything
Everything's
just
natural so
is.
that's life.
That's life. Take us deeper, Taylor. What's going on? Unpack your coccyx, your deepest part of your
Oh,
Watch
body.
it be like past.
no, I think something that's been coming a lot for me, not really just also in this like first 2 months we've been in this year, but even just like the last 3 4 months, boundaries and holding my boundaries. Like I feel like there's some times where I know better and I should do better and I should like hold myself to this boundary of like, you don't actually want to do that. You don't actually want to have this conversation right now. You don't actually want to go to that place. Like just say no. And
Mhm.
if they cry about it, let them cry about it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really like, I don't have a problem with like doing what I want to do, actually saying the no. It's the aftermath that I don't want to deal with. And that's what usually gets me to end up saying yes anyways, so
Mm,
that I can avoid the outcome that I don't want to deal with. It's not even the outcome that I don't want. It's like
Mm-hmm.
in that moment of like whether I know somebody's going to cry about it and I just like don't have the spoons to hear somebody cry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just going to be like, oh, fine, I'll just do it. I'll just do it
Mm-hmm.
this time. And then next time I'll say no. You know what I mean? And I get caught in that because my life is so chaotic, because I do like to be really busy, but it also forces me to be, I only have so many spoons. I only have so many all the time that I
Mm-hmm.
keep getting stuck in those decisions. And I really just need to stop doing that because it's
Mm-hmm.
now I'm going to pay the price, you know?
Yep. Give me an example of like either one that's real or imagined. And like give me a situation. Someone's gonna ask you, we're gonna role play it. What are we gonna
Um,
say?
I mean, I think the easiest or the biggest one that comes up the most commonly, whether it's shallow or like not shallow, sorry, uh something small, like a small event or like something really massive, is me wanting to go home, like when I want to leave or when I want to like, so like whether it's like a hangout where we're going to like the park, or like it's a hangout where like we're gonna go to an art gallery or go hang out, or like we're going to go to a party, like any scale, even like a work meeting, even like any scale of any type of event, like
Yeah.
I'm usually have this like, I don't know, like ting moment where I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to be here anymore for whatever reason, whether it's I actually just don't like the music, I don't like the scene. I just have this
Mhm.
instinct of like, I just kind of want to not be here.
Mhm.
And then I'll scan the room and see who's around me. And if I have this moment of like, hey, if I leave, I've got 4 people who are going to be upset that I'm leaving right now. I don't want to fucking deal
Mm.
with that.
Mm.
So I'll just sit and wait until somebody else wants to go.
Ah.
I'll never be upset, really, by the way.
Yeah, you say that.
No,
Yeah, I was
seriously.
like,
No.
I don't know if I can believe that.
Okay, for example, Saturday, if you were like, I'm done, because I know that you would have, like, I would have not been done, which would have been fine. I easily could have
Yeah.
stayed and you easily could have gone.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
have a moment where I might have surfacely been like, and like complain, but I wouldn't be like,
Yeah, but see, your surface level is that you don't complain once. And it's not just you, like most
mm.
people, like they won't complain once. They'll like, it'll be like 20 minutes of like, really? And that
you
is the
You'll
really
be
thing.
want
gone by
to
then.
No, but that's the thing is that like the pull, like it's not, and it's not like it's most like a lot of my and it's out of because they just want me to be there.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that is also something that I can't vilify them for because they just want me to be around. And I'm like, that's fair. I totally get that. I would have dipped like 20 minutes ago, and that would have been an asshole move because I've only been here for 10 minutes.
Mm.
Mhm.
So I have
Yeah.
to, I just come constantly in this battle of
Yeah.
like, is it worth it to deal with the fact that I'm going to have one person crying, one person text me being like, really? 2 people being like, oh, that's fine, whatever. But like,
Mhm.
really? I don't really feel like doing all that. And I can just
Mhm.
wait an extra hour and no one's going to say shit and then I'll go home.
Mm.
But then now that's an extra hour. Like now I have to remember that like it takes me 45 minutes to get home. It takes me all these things. And so then like I'm the one also being like, okay, well now I'm home 4 hours behind when I said I was gonna be
Yeah.
out of
You
my own
lost that.
choice. Yeah.
And it sounds like, yeah, you just keep, yeah, you keep putting that other person before you. And yeah, like all of those hours, when you add them up over the year, that's a hell of a lot of Taylor getting second fucking place when she deserves first place. And I think because especially because when I was like figuring out my like sober journey point
Yeah.
6.0, like it was like I just would get to a point where I'm like, I'm just gonna leave. But so what I this is what I do is I just leave. I actually don't say anything to anyone. I just fucking there's a probably a
Yeah. See, I had a whole year of doing that and people blew up my phone. And I hate
and
that too.
I just do not
That's not, it's really not an other people person
yeah.
problem. It's a me problem. Because again, like it's the lack of like, well, where did Taylor go?
Oh, I send
And
a
then my
text.
phone gets blown up because everybody I also just have a lot of fucking friends. Like it's just it's a
Yeah, yeah.
me problem. It's not even a like, oh well it's yeah, imagine if I only had 2 friends. I would not be bothered by 2 friends pestering being like, really bitch? I
Mhm.
have 14. I ain't dealing with 14 people blowing up my fucking phone because I left. That's
Yeah.
annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know what this problem's like. I have one person I actually care about how they feel, and everybody else, I'm like,
I
see ya.
I I went on a Bumble for Friends with a new friend. I went on my first friend date. And he's actually a really cool guy. But he actually said to me, he's like, I don't understand why you're on like Bumble for Friends. Like you have like so many friends. I'm like, I have so many friends, but I don't have as many friends, especially here in Montreal with depth. Like
Mhm.
I don't have depth. So anyway,
Yeah, see, and they
it's
all have
yeah.
depth. That's the thing, is that like
Yep.
I can't be mad that I have 14 friends because I love my 14 friends. I have years, decades almost with some of them
Mm-hmm.
built in. These aren't
Mm-hmm.
like shallow 14 shallow friendships. Like, you know what I mean? Like these are people who have had individual moments of changing my life. Like these are important people, but I just
Yeah.
have a lot of fucking friends and a lot of people who want my attention. I'm also very busy at work. It's just a thing of like, I put my hands in a lot of things because I want to, but the
Mhm.
other half of that, my hand is not the only hand in the cup, and so now I have to deal with all the other hands and all of the other cups on
Mhm.
top of my million hands in every fucking cup. You know what I mean?
But and that's why I say, like, but how are you going to save yourself from building
I don't know yet.
resentment towards them?
I don't know if I have all of the resentment towards them. Like it's not like it's a resentment in the moment of like, okay, I have to like think now in the next hour, can I leave? Like it's more of that I would love to stop doing,
Mm-hmm.
but not the like yeah, I don't know how to explain it.
No, you don't have to know how to explain it. I just, that's the thing that comes to my mind is just like the one, like the resentment will, the more you deny yourself, I think there's just a natural resentment that might
Yeah.
develop toward, and that might, we don't even know. We're predicting a maybe, who knows? But like,
Holy shit,
I
who
think,
knows?
but like the version of Taylor that I want to actually sit on my balcony with is the Taylor who's present. And so if you tell me that like so much other things are going on for you and you can't give me that attention, I'd rather you go do your thing. And I know at some point we're gonna kiki again. You know, I think because those relationships have so much depth, I feel those people would understand that from you. If they know what's going on for you.
Yeah.
And so I just don't want, I don't want you to suffer. That's really me just being oh, my little baby.
And just a baby.
Just
And
a
just
little,
a baby out here.
oh, oh, life is
Here, Jay.
complicated. Oh
Take us
shit, I still
deeper.
have to go. Oh,
Yeah, take us even fucking deeper. Oh, my poor dog.
oh my gosh. Yeah, I hope your dog is okay after this. Gosh, I don't even know. It's like it's a weird, I think, time energetically just in the world in general. I'm reading a really great book right now. Shout out to Ruha Benjamin. Ruha Benjamin, an imagination manifesto. Um, and I guess I'm wrestling because we keep seeing, I think, the emotional, informational, we'll put them together, overload of what's happening across the border, but then also how that could impact our lives. And when we look at our government and the conservatives' intentions, there are a lot of people who are scared economically, and they're willing to sacrifice the needs of people who've already been suffering in order to just get by. Um, and so I think for me, like with imagination manifesto, like I see a lot of people, I put this on my threads last night of like people are really fucking pessimistic and people are not even engaging at all because they're just overwhelmed. And I think you both have talked about like boundaries and like figuring it out, and it's like I don't know. I got really, I think maybe inspired, I guess you could say, from an author who I
Nice.
think I spent a lot of time with this author. Adrienne Marie Brown writes like not imagination, emergent strategy. And she talks about this. And so I'm like, how do we get through this together? And how do we step into like really meaningful relationships with our community, with our partners, with our places we work, and don't not engage at all, but engage in a good way. So I'm just gonna like I'm not exploring the problem, and maybe I'm not being specific enough, but um, yeah, I've been really struggling with how to be involved in something, especially because I feel naturally disconnected because I don't speak French well. That sometimes I feel really disconnected in Montreal because I'm like, oh, I don't. Who is this community of like? How can I be a change maker when I can't speak the language, right? Because the federal and provincial level of government and municipal are going to speak predominantly French, right? But Adrienne Marie Brown had shared these like steps. And so maybe I'll share them with you guys and our lovely listeners, where she said, step one is to accept reality, decide what to do, observe, orient, decide, and act. So observe what is happening, orient yourself. I think also both orient to what's happening, but also like in your space, your physical space.
Yeah.
And then kind of ask yourself like, okay, what matters to me and what can I do? And then taking action towards that. And then the second step she kind of talks about is step 2, which is finding community. So how can we show up for one another? I think we're like, because of social media, we're instantly brought into, what's happening in the US and what's happening across the world. And I'm not invalidating that by any means, but our brains, how we've evolved, aren't really ready to take on and process that much information and then also survive in late stage capitalism and hustle just to survive. And so if you ask yourself like who you can really show up for, who are the people you can really show up for and really cherish and honor and spend time with them. And then she talks step 3, back to boundaries, but like our attention is so valuable, so how can we use it to help ourselves and the people around us? And also, where is information coming from? How can you keep it, how can you correct it while keeping your peace, right? We see so much violent commentary on Instagram and social media, so much disconnect from arguably self, but then also from the humanity we share with each other. And so who do you get your information from? But then also
Facts.
when
That's a huge one.
who do you get it from? But then also when you see it, it's like, what just because I see it doesn't mean I necessarily have to engage with it. Where can I use this emotion in a way that's actually gonna go forward? And then she shares step 4, which is become a source of information. So always fact check before resharing and invest in outlets that value truth. And gosh, I can't stress that one enough, because people start to participate in the conversation on things because they share an infographic and they get a small nugget of knowledge and
Half the time they didn't
wisdom.
even actually open the whole thing. They just saw the like caption of the article. They're like, yes,
Yes,
post. And they're like, oh my God, now I can speak on it. Because like I posted something about it and like they haven't even clicked open the article and read out the entire fucking article first. You're like, bruh.
That's what I'm saying. And so I think, yeah, you have to just take a second and not share everything. And that's hard. Like when we saw what was happening, what we see still happening in Gaza and the horrible oppression that is happening to Palestinians, it's absolutely disgusting. It absolutely needs to be discussed and talked about and changed. But on the other end, there are these people who are really violently attacking people who said nothing. And sometimes when we live in social media land, we almost forget that like people actually do take actions in other ways outside of social media. That's a facet in a world. I remember I was going to protests here, but I didn't need to post that I was going to that protest. My presence and my engagement, voting through things at McGill and participating, we donated money in an Indigenous Affairs committee that I'm on. Like, there's so many things, and I never told a damn person one of them. Maybe a couple people, sure. But we get so like sidelined into this world, and
proof. There's always this need for proof all the time.
Prove it. Yeah, show the receipts. And I think it boils down to like, we just all have this deficit of trust. And I was thinking about the show Traders. You ever watch it?
No.
Oh.
It's my fucking favorite show. Basically, like 20 people go into a house, a mix of celebrities, celebrities, reality TV people. But anyways,
I think I have heard a little bit about this though.
And they live together, they compete in challenges. At the beginning of the show, the host picks 3 traders secretly, and then throughout the show, they basically have to like go through these challenges, and then they go to a round table and they have to guess who they think is a traitor. And then the person reveals if they're a traitor or they're a faithful. And then each night the traitors meet and they like murder someone in the house. And it's like this game of like deception and like emotional intelligence, but it's also like really a lot of trust. And I was like, oh, these kind of shows, these dramatic shows, we wonder why we don't trust each other. We wonder why we don't trust our neighbor, and why our relationships are so fractured. But then we like look to the media, we see like every conspiracy theory is probably on some episode of Law and Order, or like all of these big shows that people are in. Like, of course you don't trust, because everything you consume is fucking about critiquing and and not trusting. So I don't know. I think in that madness and the need to take action, I think you said this at the very beginning, Bronwyn. It's like, what is my why when it comes to the dance industry? And you
Or
have
anything.
to, what is your why in the world?
Yeah.
Like, what? And I had a dream last night. It was a weird dream, but I'll summarize the. It was like somebody was talking about me, and then I was like, oh, that bitch wants to talk. Let me go come up on her face. And then I like went to like find her, and I'm like trying to get the voice memo to like record her. It was really strange. Then finally I talked to her, and she just said, no, I don't want to talk to you. And I was like, oh, she just. And I just remember feeling these visceral feelings. It was a wild dream, but then when I was like analyzing the dream, um, it was like about the importance of being like strategic, um, and working with that emotion to get clarity on like, what do you really want to do? What do you really hope to achieve? And then by being strategic, and then in my newsletter this morning, I got an email about like strategy at the personal level, and I was like, wow, everything is together. But yeah, what is your why in place in the world? And then when you're clear on that why, and knowing that it changes and it's living, and you should come back to it cyclically, but what is it? And then every time you get a question from someone, or someone asks you to be a part of something, you go back to this strategy, this who you want to be, and does this work for me or does it not? And I'm reading a book on indigenous economies, and it was talking about like, yeah, we have to come into relationship. We have to continue to come together in a cyclical way. So that thing is changing. It's not stagnant. We don't write it down and this is my 365-day a year plan and that's it. It's like, no, it's living, it's cyclical. It continues to grow and flow. But yeah, you gotta do the damn thing.
The
Gotta.
very first thing you said about that book, where it's like first you have to understand the reality or something. That first thing that popped in my head, and I was like, well, that's my problem. I can't like I never know what the reality is. Like in my brain. And I think it's like you can interpret something. One can interpret the same situation completely different. And I think for some people, they're able to see something happening and they interpret it. There's one option where for me, I've superpower too, and like with empathy and compassion, I can see so many different versions of said reality that I never quite know what my reality is, because I can convince myself all of the options are correct or seem to be real. And so then I sometimes get overwhelmed in the, like, for example, my reality on what happened to Saturday, I was super pumped. Now it's on Monday, and the reality that happened to me is like mortifying. What's the change? Like you know what I mean? Nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Nothing.
So it's also, and what is the reality? At the end of the day, I don't know.
You don't.
And like that's the reality.
And that's the thing, accepting the reality thing. But this is kind of the problem. I don't know enough about this yet, so no, I'm talking about it very limitedly. That's not a word, but it's the idea of like they're looking at like internet induced psychosis and the impacts of social media. And so in the way we've evolved, we're meeting people, we're talking face to face, we're engaging in real life, we're oriented to our physical space, right? With technology, though, now you're engaging and overloading a ton of stories and events and things and relationships and attachments to people, and you're living in this like distorted reality too. So you've got like reality one, the things and that's, so when it says orient, I'm not super familiar with the model, but I think how I see orient is like orient to like what's physically happening, what's here right now.
Yeah.
What are, when you have an anxiety attack and they say say 5 things you hear or 5 things you
More
taste,
things you see. Yeah.
that idea. It's like
Yeah.
because you're orienting to the present moment, but our minds are like really quite hijacked by over analysis and like thinking in so many different versions of events. So yeah, like I think your struggle is my struggle, is I'm sure Taylor's struggle, like we all struggle with that. And so we have to come back to accepting, I think, that reality, then
Acceptance.
and come back and
It
reorient to
is
the
what it
moment.
is.
Reorient, that's the name of the game, to your physical space.
Reorient.
Because that's like your only power. That's your real power, I think. And yeah, and the only way you can do that, I think, is to be awakened to your collective conscious. And I really believe that people are shaken up from COVID-19 and like their collective consciousness is awakening. And I'm not a politician. I don't understand all of political science, but I think sometimes the certainty of a person like Trump, the certainty of a person like Pierre, and the looseness and the nuance of the more liberal kind of left side of things is scarier than the certainty of someone like Trump, of someone like Pierre Poilievre. And so I think the important thing is if we keep recognizing what it really is, that we're collectively coming to our consciousness, and then we orient and then get clear on what we want. I think this imagination manifesto, this Ruha Benjamin, like taking control of the imagination and building the future we want is possible, but we can't do that if we're not clear on our why. We can't do that if we're not clear on our strategy. So find your strategy, your living strategy.
Ooh, find your living strategy.
Find your living strategy.
Yeah.
If you listened to today's episode, I hope you got some nugget of wisdom in our deep dive.
And I
Listen,
hope you
this
just
will be a
realize
second jambalaya.
Second
we're
jambalaya.
all in this together. That's like
And we make
that's
it.
literally the conclusion is we're all in this together and we're all just stumbling around, hopefully trying to do what's best for yourself and those around you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
And that's the
that's
best we
it.
can do.
Mhm.
That's the best we can offer. Good luck.
Live, laugh, love. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time.